All right, so what we're doing today is a little different. This is a special re-edit of a fantastic discussion from the Sip&Talk podcast, and it's sponsored by our good friends Mickey. We've basically taken the whole conversation and boiled it down to the absolute must-know highlights just for you.
So let's dive right in. We're tackling a really big, really important topic today, Taiwan-China, and the two completely different realities they seem to live in. And the whole thing, really hinges on one central, kind of paradoxical question.
And here it is. You see, Beijing's official stance is, and has always been, that Taiwan is an inseparable part of China. Okay, but if that's the case, how come their modern experiences, their collective memories, even their idea of national suffering are just so radically different? It doesn't quite add up, right?
To really unpack that, we have to start at the source. We've got to understand the foundational claim, the core story from Beijing's point of view, because honestly, this narrative is what drives their entire policy.
From Beijing's perspective, this isn't just about politics. It's a story about national destiny. Taiwan is seen as, well, the last loose end from the Chinese Civil War. Bringing it back into the fold is framed as the final chapter, the moment they finally close the book on what they called the Century of Humiliation, a long period of suffering at the hands of foreign powers.
Okay, so that's the official story. But does this idea of a shared history, a shared experience, really hold up when you look at the facts? Let's dig into how and why their paths actually split so dramatically.
Just take a look at this timeline. The fork in the road, the real moment everything changes, is right here, 1895. That's when China hands Taiwan over to Japan. And from that point on, their paths just completely diverge. For the next half-century, while mainland China is being absolutely torn apart by warlords and war, Taiwan is on a totally different journey under Japanese colonial rule. And then, boom, 1949, the split becomes a massive chasm. The PRC is founded and becomes isolated. Meanwhile, Taiwan becomes a crucial U.S. ally in the Cold War, getting tons of aid and protection. And what's the result of all this? Well, you get two totally separate national psychologies. It's really that simple. In mainland China, the story that takes hold is one of humiliation by the West and Japan. But in Taiwan, the collective memory is shaped by something else entirely. Japanese colonization, sure, but then a really close alliance with America. They just don't carry the same historical baggage or wounds, not even close. So you have these separate histories, and they don't just lead to different memories. They end up building fundamentally different societies. I'm talking different political and social systems built from the ground up.
I mean, the contrast is just black and white. On one side, you've got a one-party authoritarian system, the same one since 1949. On the other, a really lively multi-party democracy where power changes hands peacefully. And check out those Freedom House scores, 9 versus 94. That's not just a small difference, right? We're talking about polar opposites in how you organize a society and where power actually comes from.
You know, Sunny, the host of Sip&Talk, had this absolutely perfect analogy for this. She said that in Taiwan, voting is kind of like picking a restaurant owner every 4 years. If you don't like the food or the service, you just switch to a new restaurant next time. It's so simple, but it gets right to the heart of it. That idea of accountability to the people, that's the whole ballgame.
Okay, so we've got different histories, different systems. That's all a bit abstract, though, isn't it? What does it actually mean for a regular person? You know, for the person on the street? How does this stuff translate into real, everyday life?
Let's start with just one number, a simple one. Over 140. What's that? Well, that's how many countries and territories will let you in visa-free or with a visa on arrival if you're holding a Taiwanese passport. Think about that. It's a direct measurement of how much the world trusts you. And this really gets to the core of what we can call the nationality label. Because when you go out into the world, to travel, to study, to do business, that label you carry with your passport really matters. For someone from Taiwan, that label is generally democratic partner. It means less hassle, less scrutiny. But for someone from China, that label, whether it's fair or not, often gets tied up with the actions of their government. And that can mean a whole lot more suspicion and a much higher level of scrutiny pretty much everywhere they go. And it's not just a feeling. The data completely backs this up. Just look at these recent numbers from Pew Research. It shows a huge gap in how people see them. In the US, for instance, favorable views of Taiwan are way up there, almost 80%. China, just over 20%. That massive difference in public opinion has real-world consequences, shaping everything from high-level diplomacy right down to one-on-one personal interactions. So where does this leave us? What does all this add up to? Well, here's the takeaway.
the heart of this conflict isn't just one simple disagreement. What we're actually looking at are three completely separate, competing realities that just don't line up.
Let's break them down. First, you have Beijing's reality. This one is built on a powerful story of historical wrongs and a sense of national destiny. Then you have the international reality, which is way more pragmatic, right? It's all about strategy and managing risk. And finally, you have Taiwan's reality. This one is grounded in the day-to-day lives of its people, in their identity as a free and democratic society. And the problem is, these three realities, they almost never overlap.
And that brings us to the final and most critical question of all. When you have three fundamental realities that just can't intersect, when they inevitably collide, which one is going to be the one that defines the future? Not just for Taiwan, but really for the entire region. Now, if you want to go deeper on this and hear the full, unfiltered conversation, you should absolutely subscribe to the Sip&Talk podcast. We've only scratched the surface here. And while you're at it, please do check out the link to our sponsor, Mickey's Awesome Channel. It's right there in the description below.
Thanks so much for watching.